Wanderers. If you haven't checked out our TikTok page yet, please do, and make sure you hit the follow button. When we get 1,000 followers, we'll be able to view exclusive content and go live on TikTok. Okay, enchant us.
I don't know why I'm so nervous.
Because you just don't feel like you're ever going to do Ted Bundy justice.
There's just something about Ted. I don't know what it is.
Rob, do you ever feel threatened by Ted Bundy?
No.
That's interesting.
Why would he be?
Because you talk about him a lot.
He just intrigues me.
And then she's going to do her rant about how I don't condone the things that he did. He was not a good person, but he was really fascinating. She does the same exact.
I just want people to know I'm like not in love with a crazy person. I just psychologically very interesting.
A psychologically impaired person.
Like a what? Like I am?
Yes. You're in love with a psychologically impaired person.
I thought you were saying I was.
If the shoe fits.
You want to take this outside?
No, it's a long walk.
Okay. Hi, I'm Hannah. Join me as I delve into true crime, paranormal encounters, and all things spooky. Grab your flashlight and get ready to wander into the darkness with me. This is Wicked Wanderings. Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Rob.
Hello.
Hi, Kenzie.
She looks up.
She looked. That's what matters.
Hey, we got a special episode today. Do you know what today's episode is?
No, not at all.
It is our 1-year anniversary.
Wow. Woo! 1 whole year.
Yes, this is episode 53, which means 1 year ago today, we put out the first episode, and it was Hannah.
Maura Murray.
I still think that was one of the best ones.
Thank you. Even though it was like our first one,
I
we were
have
so
listened
nervous.
to that one multiple times.
Oh.
It's a good one.
Courtney's listened from the beginning.
Back to when I used to fangirl. I'm like, that's Hannah. I used to share an office with her.
She would leave me little love notes if I was out for the day or on vacation. Like, it's not the
I
same.
left
without
work
you.
early like a slagger.
So, because today is a very, very special episode, who or what is the topic?
So we did put a poll out on our Facebook page, and it was between doing Ted Bundy, the FLDS, or Robert the Doll. And it was really between Robert the Doll and Ted Bundy, which I'm wondering if it's because maybe people don't know about FLDS and we should have like spelt it out. But I digress. Anyways, so it was between Robert the Doll and Ted Bundy won. So
I bet Hannah voted 47 times.
I didn't vote at all. I
voted.
didn't want to skew the vote.
I voted.
As you should.
Ask me what I voted for.
Robert the Doll.
Yeah, so
Ted Bundy.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
So Ted Bundy got 47%, and Robert the Doll got 39%. So it was very close.
It was
pretty
close. I definitely still want to do Robert the Doll, but he does scare me.
I was going to say something about a creepy doll.
Yeah.
I was always so afraid of Chucky.
See, I've never seen the Chucky movie.
I've never seen it either. I just
Oh.
I remember the commercial would come on when I was watching TV and I would hide under the blankets. I think that's probably around the same time I stopped playing with dolls.
Really? I never really was like people gave me Barbies and I didn't give a shit.
Were you the kid who ripped the heads off the Barbies?
No,
Oh, okay.
I just gave them to other people. Anywho, Courtney,
Hannah.
you ready to talk about Ted Bundy?
I really am.
All right, Wanderers, I'm gonna warn you now. This is gonna be a couple episodes.
I think they all already knew that you could talk about the second love of your life to Rob, Ted Bundy.
I don't know what it is about this man. Like, he just fascinates me. So the book I used is called The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. And she has a really neat perspective because she knew Ted Bundy personally. So this isn't just her doing research or just like in the Times and reading news articles. Like, she actually knew who Ted was before he started murdering.
What was the relation?
There was no relation. They were friends. So
That's what I mean. What was the relation? It was just friends?
So they actually met at the suicide hotline clinic.
Okay.
Ah.
Yeah, which I'll get into. But I'm letting you know, like, that's how I'm getting my information. And the book is really well written. It's a lot of fun. So
has she written other things too?
She has.
Okay, so she's also a writer, I would imagine. Sometimes people write things and they're not an author.
Yes.
So
she was also a cop for years.
Okay, so she has a lot of really good perspective then.
She was a cop?
She was a cop.
Like a police officer.
Yep.
I'm assuming after she knew Ted Bundy.
Yes.
So you said she worked with him before he started killing.
Yes.
When he was at the suicide hotline. So he worked at the suicide hotline before he started killing.
Yes.
I wonder if there was a case or something that triggered something in his head that made him start to kill.
We need the clapping sounds again. Listen to Rob hypothesizing using the mental health realm of things. Rob was the person who brought the trauma thing in. I am so impressed.
I will say that from the beginning of his life, he'd been lied to. He'd had really terrible relationships with women. I mean, even women he was trying to date, he became obsessive over it. So I think that kind of added to the psychosis of who Ted Bundy was.
Did his obsession often lead to why the relationships fell apart? Like he was so overbearing that the women were no longer interested, or was there something else?
No, not from what I've read.
Okay.
It was like, oh, Ted's a nice guy, but he's just, kind of boring, not for me. And then he became obsessive. Like they would break up and he would like.
Okay. So he was like an after the fact obsessor where it was like, why, woe is me? Why is this going wrong? Okay.
Right. So I'm just going to start off by saying, so they met, Ann Rule, who wrote the book, they had met in 1971 at Seattle Crisis Clinic. And they had this Tuesday night shift together. And it was like a late night shift. I think she said it was like 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Like it was a crazy weird shift. And they found out they had some mutual interests. And she said they came together through the universe. She's like, what are the odds? She's like, and at that point, she was in the middle of a divorce. She was a mother of children. Like she wasn't young by any means. And she gets to have this shift with Ted Bundy. And at the time, she didn't really think anything of it, but they became really close friends where she actually was like asking him for advice in her love life.
Oh boy.
So there was something that I wanted to read to the Wanderers real quick. And it says, you've called it karma, it may be, yet whatever supernatural force guides our destinies, it has brought us together in some mind-expanding situation. I must believe this invisible hand will pour more chilled chalice for us in less treacherous, more tranquil times to come. Love, Ted. That was actually something that Ted Bundy wrote to Ann Rule. Which I thought, like, he sounds eloquent, I guess is what I wanted to get across.
Yeah, I think people often assume when someone's a criminal, they have this stigma associated with them, like they're less. And that's really, I feel like most of the time, it's not the case at all.
Okay, so let's do a little backstory on Ted and how he grew up. So his mother's name was Eleanor Louise Cowell. And thinking 1940s, right? She was 22. She gets pregnant. She's not married.
Oh boy.
It's the 40s, right?
There's a situation there.
Exactly. She says she got pregnant by a sailor, and that's what people knew.
Okay.
So she went to Elizabeth Lund's home for unwed mothers in Burlington, Vermont. The fact that they even had a place like
for
this,
unwed mothers.
Oh my God, it's just insane. So I guess also it was known as Lizzie Lund's home for naughty ladies.
Dear goodness.
I know. Isn't that terrible?
Naughty ladies.
So she wants to keep the baby, which I give her many props for. And of course, the fact that she says she got pregnant by a sailor, this was also World War II time. I think, especially when you see in the movies, that there were a lot of women that were like, oh, he's going to die, so I'll just have sex with him. And obviously birth control really wasn't a thing back then. So
yeah, absolutely.
Theodore Robert Cowell was born November 24th, 1946. So that was his birth name. So she comes home with the baby, and they told Ted right off the bat, as soon as he understood, that this is your sister. So mom was sister.
Okay.
And the grandparents were his parents. But from the beginning, Ted's not an idiot.
Right. He did the math on that one. He
why
was like,
do I have this like 20-something-year-old sister and like my parents, quote unquote, are this old? Like there's something not adding up. So he began understanding what was happening. So his sister, quote unquote, decides, oh, let's move to Washington State where we have more family. And again, he's like, why would I move with my sister and not my parents, quote unquote. And he did say that he had a really strong relationship with his grandfather. It seemed like it was like the only man in his life that he actually had a good relationship with.
I mean, if you think about it, because his dad was never in the picture.
Right.
And he was raised to think that his grandfather was his dad, so
his mom changed his name again. So
his mom or his grandmother mom?
His mom, Eleanor.
Okay.
His actual biological mother. So he was Theodore Robert Cowell, and then she changed it to Theodore Robert Nelson. Don't know why.
Just randomly?
Yeah, so I will remember this, that she had said that she wanted him to kind of have like a fresh start.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
A sincere expression of gratitude to our esteemed patrons for their generous monthly contributions. Lynn, Sarah, Courtney, Stephanie, Kate, Karen, Ashling, Mark, Jake, Brooke, and Margie. You too can become a valued patron and unlock a realm of exclusive content by supporting our mission for as little as $3 a month. Your contributions sustain our commitment to delivering high-quality content. Visit wickedwanderingspodcast.com and click on the support tab to join the ranks of our dedicated patrons. Thank you for considering this opportunity to deepen your engagement with Wicked Wanderings. Your support is paramount in enabling us to continue our journey into the realms of mystery and true crime. And now, back to the shit show.
From what? Immediately on like a fresh start from what? Seems like she's running from something.
Yeah. So they're in Washington State now, right? Okay. They start going to this Methodist church, and Mom meets somebody. And she meets a man called Johnny Culpepper Bundy.
Culpepper
Bundy.
Apparently, he was a pretty short-statured man, but I guess he was a good man. And it was just kind of like, all right, listen, I'm getting old. I want to have a family.
This'll
Seems
do.
like a decent guy, right? So before the age of 5, poor Bundy already had changed his name again. So this is the third time his name's changed.
Sensing an identity crisis coming in here.
Yes, absolutely.
How can you be tied down to anything when your identity keeps changing that many times?
Right, exactly. So now he's Theodore Robert Bundy. And growing up, he's not a sport kid. He's not like playing soccer or whatever. He's super intelligent. As we think we know, because when you hear Bundy, you don't think of him as a stupid person. At least I don't.
No.
If you watched any documentary, even if you've watched the one with Zac Efron, right? They did a whole movie on him. You know he's intelligent. He's not stupid. So he did get made fun of a lot, which does happen when you're in school. Like, I know I got picked on in high school. I freaking hated high school.
Middle school was rough.
Yeah,
Middle school was really
awful,
rough.
especially if you show any intelligence and you're not part of any certain group. So when they showered after gym, like he wanted to have a private stall. He didn't want to do the gang showering that they all did. And they would tease him, and they would also like pour cold water on him.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's just like really, really cruel. Interesting enough, though, he was known by juvenile caseworkers.
Okay.
He wasn't always the best behaved, but I think looking at his background and stuff that was happening to him from such a young age, I think it was just his way of getting attention.
Yeah, moving around, his identity kept changing. His only identity was really who he acted like, not what he was called at that point.
Right. And where I think like his mom was, you know, trying to have him have like a fresh start each time, I think it was just doing more damage.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's an identity crisis. He had no idea who the hell he was.
Well, it also teaches, depending on the age he was at the time, it teaches people that they can run from things instead of having to actually problem solve things. And, and it kind of lacks permanency if you think about it.
So after high school, he went to the University of Washington, and he started, which I thought was interesting, in a program of intensive Chinese.
Chinese?
Yeah.
Like learning Mandarin?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Because he's like, I know there's a future with China. Which I just thought, like...
So smart.
So smart. It was just so progressive, right? He was thinking
He was preparing
ahead.
for the future, yeah.
Yes. Which I was like, that's freaking brilliant. Just thinking, because we have a lot of interest with China right now. He meets his first love, Stephanie. Stephanie comes up a lot So get used to her name.
I wish she had a different name.
Stephanie.
I don't know. It just doesn't feel right, but we'll go with it.
She was older. She was from a very prominent family in California. Super loaded, right? And then you think of poor Ted, like, they don't have much. And she was basically out of his league. But he was like, nope, she's the one. And that's kind of like where you see the obsession come in. Stephanie agreed Ted was a great boyfriend because they ended up going out together.
Ooh.
But he just did not fit her life, right? She comes from this, like, I go to the country club type life, and
He's not.
Opposites
attract, maybe?
I mean, so she graduated
Okay.
college.
Yeah, because you said she was older.
And so they broke up. And as you can imagine, Ted was devastated. And after some failed projects that he was trying to start, he went to Vermont to find details on his birth father, because he's like, I knew from a young age, like, you were my mom, you weren't my sister. Like, I want to know who my dad was. And he was hurt. He was broken. He was sad. And he finds out who his birth father is. Doesn't really resolve anything for his life. And
So was it a sailor?
As far as I know, yeah, he did find his name, but I didn't bother to write it down.
Oh, okay. But he was a sailor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it just sounded like, I have a feeling it was kind of like he's going off to war, and, you know, men can schmooze people. We all know.
Women can schmooze too.
They can
2024.
They absolutely can. Yes. I'm just thinking, like, I've had men in my life that were like, but you'll be my first kiss. Bullshit. Okay. Like, don't let me die a virgin. Don't believe them. Like, just freaking BS. Anyways, own trauma we're not going to talk about. So.
Different podcast.
Different podcast. So he's like, all right, now I'm more upset. I want to go find Stephanie. But they're already broken up. But he's like, I'm going to go find her.
There's his perseveration, right?
Yes.
There it is.
So she actually left work, right? She left her job, and he came up behind her to surprise her.
Not at all creepy. Definitely
And
surprising.
As you can imagine, she was like, oh, hi, Ted. Like, where did you come from? And he comes in and out of her life, which I will bring her up again. But Ted starts this, like, spiraling. He starts to, like, connect with a lot of people, but then he's, like, lying to people at the same time. Like, I underlined this lie. He told people that he was, like, in and out of foster care. And, you know, he said that he had a different upbringing, but, like, he wasn't in foster care. Like, yeah, it might have been an abnormal upbringing for him, but he always had his mom there for him. So it's like,
potentially, maybe he felt because it was such a different upbringing than Stephanie's, he felt like he had to lie to people so that way they had a really clear understanding when they were getting into him with him. They were like, oh, this guy's got trauma.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I mean, his story seems really anticlimactic at a first glance. Like,
Right.
oh, yeah, you know, I didn't know my dad, but I grew up with 3 loving parents, essentially.
Yeah.
And then had this stepfather.
right, who tried to connect with him.
Right. So it's almost like he made himself more fucked up.
Yeah, and Ted just really just didn't want anything to do with him. And
Understandable also.
even though, you know, he sounds like an average dude, right? Johnny Culpepper, like he has his last name Bundy.
Culpepper Bundy.
He's like, you know, I can't imagine like having, you know, a stepchild and you're like, all right, I want to help you and them not wanting it.
Yeah. And often that is the relationship. I mean, both of my parents were separated. They were separated and then in different relationships the whole time I was growing up. And I mean, I have a good relationship with my dad's girlfriend now, but I can remember being not very receptive at all to my parents dating. It was very much like, it almost felt like if they were giving their love to somebody else that you were getting less of it somehow.
And they did have kids together.
Yeah. And so I'm sure he felt
had
illegitimate in his
siblings.
own house.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, why do these people get to know you as mom, but I had to know you as sister, you know?
Right. Yeah. I can see the trauma coming a million miles away, Rob. You're right.
Yeah. So then he meets Meg Anders. And she already had a daughter, Leanne. Liane. L-I-A-N-E. Leanne.
Leanne.
Yeah. So Meg had actually just left her husband, who was a convicted felon.
She had a type.
Apparently. So she met Bundy. She was like, I want to marry this guy. Like, he's marriage material. But he was like, no, I got things I want to accomplish first, right? And he was like the ideal citizen. And he actually got commendations from the Seattle Police Department because he ran down and saved a child from drowning. Yeah.
This is the convicted felon.
No, this is Ted Bundy. I was just saying, like, I thought that was an interesting fact that she left a man who became a convicted felon, and then she found Ted Bundy and was like, yes, this is a man of my dreams.
There you go, folks. There's evidence that the grass is not always greener.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes it's the same damn grass.
Exactly. But I'm just saying, like, Ted was like, he was a gifted student. He was nice on the eyes. He was getting accommodations from police departments because he helped a drowning child, and he stopped a purse snatcher.
So he looks like an upstanding citizen.
He does. Like you would,
but at that point, he was.
Yes,
to our knowledge.
So, and something that Anne wrote, who was the author, to retell you guys, she said that if as many people believe today, Ted Bundy took lives, he also saved lives. I know he did because I was there when he did it. So she talks a lot about, like, not only just like the child that was unfortunately almost drowned that he saved, but like the people in the crisis center for suicide. So, and being in the crisis center, you had to be trained, you had to be screened to make sure that you weren't a psychopath. Right. Like there's stuff you have to go through. It wasn't just like they're pulling anyone off the street. And he would help her. Like she remembers, like, she got a call and there was this process of, sometimes they just got people that just need a small talk to, right?
Right. Yeah.
But there were some people that were like, I am going to do this, and they knew it. So like Ted would actually help her on the phone call the right people to get like the police department and the medics out there to help this person. It just, I don't know, for some reason it registers so weird in my brain that like he did help save people's lives.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just,
this goes back to the thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately about good and bad and neutrality. And like, we work with people and their behavior challenges. And we always tell parents, don't look at that as a good behavior or a bad behavior. Behavior is what it is. It's just behavior. Maybe you want to decrease it or increase it, but behavior is behavior. I feel like people are just people too. I mean, you can't look at one person based off of one thing they do and say they're a bad person. I mean, if you think about the average person lives till what, 60, 70 years old, and you're going to take one thing they do and you're going to say that's a whole bad person. You wouldn't let 1 minute ruin a whole day and say it was a bad day, but you'll let one bad act in decades worth of time say somebody was all bad. I don't think that you can, people are more complex than that. I don't think you can just say that.
I totally agree with that because, and then she goes into like, oh, I talked to him about my divorce. And she goes into saying like, they decided like, okay, he was like, I want to divorce you. And then he finds out that he has cancer. And so she talks to Ted about this, like, how can I leave him now in his time of need? And he's like, but he's the one that wants a divorce.
But he wanted to divorce you first, yeah.
Let him have his couple years if he's going to have it in the way that he wants to live his life. Why would you want to be with someone that doesn't want to be with you?
Right.
So he's giving sound advice.
Yeah.
Like, it just, I don't know, for some reason, he's not a flat character, right? No. Like thinking about Reed, he's not flat at all. He is very well-rounded, and I guess in a way that probably didn't help him, like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So
that manipulation piece, right?
Right, exactly. So, and she also mentioned, which I thought was so sweet, he used to walk her to her car. So they would get out like 2, 3 a.m. and he would make sure she got in the car, closed the door, started the car before he would even walk away to make sure she was safe. And that also boggles my mind because we know the way that Ted Bundy used to pick up his victims.
Right.
He was in a car. So it's, I don't know. Did he think of her as his mother, or why her? Like she definitely didn't fit like his victim type, being like, a mother, a single mother, middle-aged.
Right. That's what I was thinking too when you had said that she was already married and that she had children.
Yeah. But it seems like the older women like really liked him. So something else that I found really interesting with Bundy too was that he was a hardcore Republican. And the reason I find this interesting is because if you think about the time period of when he was living and he was young, it was Vietnam. And this was hippie city. This was stop the war. This was liberal at its best, right? Like, not to get into politics, but like Ted Bundy was clean cut, shaven, did not look like the people of his time, right? Because when I think 60s and 70s, I think the long hair,
the hippies,
peace and love. Yeah.
The dirty hippies.
The hippies, exactly. Yeah. That's not who he was. And so he really didn't fit in with a lot of people in the college area either, because he would say what his politics were, and he got into like a lot of different chapters of Republicans in his area and would help out with different elections and things. And that's not what people his age were doing at the time. It was
something geared for people a little bit older. Usually.
Right. So I thought that was fascinating. But that's also how he got a lot of in with certain crowds of people, especially older people. So Bundy wanted to get into Utah law. That was like the thing that he wanted. Utah law, yeah. So he couldn't get in the first time. He failed. There was some type of test that he just couldn't get. And then he ends up getting in. But the weird thing is, he decided not to take it. Said he was in a major accident, which he wasn't. He was like an offender bender.
Interesting.
And he was like, oh, maybe next term.
Fear of rejection coming in again.
Maybe. Because, so going back to Meg, who was the woman that he was with, she came from a family with money, and she paid for so much of his schooling. Like, so much. She was supportive of him. She was there for him. And, like, he still had his sights set on Stephanie. Like, Stephanie was still the love of his life. And I got the short end of the stick.
Yeah, a little bit.
I feel so bad about that.
She was a stepping stone.
And so he had these dreams. He was like, yep, I'm doing a study on rape and the significance of jury composition study. So he was doing these 2 studies, but he never did them. So he was telling people he had studies going, but then it never happened.
Or was he doing some kind of research for his own independent study, if we want to call that?
I thought of that as well. So while Bundy was with Meg, he actually was still courting Stephanie. So he found Stephanie years later, ends up courting her, ends up giving these luxurious weekends away, right? With Meg still at home. Becomes engaged to her.
To Meg or to Stephanie?
Just for Stephanie.
Okay. While he's still dating Meg.
Yes. And Meg has no clue, right?
Does Stephanie have a clue?
No. Stephanie is head over heels from like, oh my God, this is a man now I can marry. He's got his life together. He's going to go to law school. Like,
he's got Meg's money.
Meg's money, right? And then he leaves her in the lurch. He all of a sudden doesn't give her a Christmas gift, doesn't call her back. And then when he calls her back, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, then she goes to a therapist and she's like, what the hell happened? She's like, I think he did this just so he could dump me and make me feel the way I felt.
Wow.
So he made me fall in love with him.
Just to take it away like how she did to him.
Yep. But then 9 months later, she marries. So.
Marries him?
Mm-mm.
Oh, no. Marries someone else. Okay.
We needed a web there for a minute. There was.
Yes.
Sorry. Does that make sense, though?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So you see, he takes a pretty hard dive, like all at once, it seems like.
Yes.
It's like going up and up and up, and then all of a sudden it's like kaboom.
Did he do it just to say that he could?
Or maybe the grass wasn't greener again when he got what he wanted and he was feeling pretty shitty about himself, I would imagine. Did he stay with Meg? Do we know that?
He's still with Meg as of what I know. More to come.
So far, would you recommend the book?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It's on my TBR, so that's why I'm asking.
It's very well written and it's interesting. Absolutely.
So you're just going to leave us on that little cliffhanger right there?
Sure am. You're welcome.
Wow.
But this is why I think it's good to do Ted Bundy in a couple episodes because, like, that's some of that information
I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, I did not know that.
He's more complex than...
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Well, tune in next time where we find out a little bit more about Ted Bundy. All right. Do you want to grab a card, Hannah?
Yes. I have Jack of Clubs. Juan Espinal. Espinal, I hope I'm saying that right, Espinal. On March 8th, 2017, 2 males lying in wait behind a parked car ambushed the victim as he walked home. The victim was chased up Forest Street towards Crescent Street in Lawrence when he was shot. The suspects were last seen fleeing on foot. If you have any info about this case, please call 1-855-MA-SOLVE.
Wow.
So sad. I don't know how many more times I can do these. These are awfully sad.
Well, the exposure is good, though. Maybe somebody will hear it and they'll know something.
I know.
All the exposure counts.
Definitely.
Thank you, Wonders, for dealing with my Theodore episode, and hope you come back for more.
I'll definitely be back for more.
Happy 1 year anniversary.
Happy 1 year.
Wow. You know, only 5% of podcasts that start make it to the first year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah.
Does that mean we're in the top 5%?
We are.
Well, we couldn't do it without all of you guys. So
Definitely.
you guys here and you guys listening. So
yeah, so if this is your first time listening, definitely hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notifications when new episodes come out. But, you should know that every Wednesday new episodes come out.
And send us a text message. Like, we haven't gotten a text in so long. Like, granted, we can't respond, but we will talk about it on here.
Yes, and we don't know the phone number. So when you send a text, it actually goes to our app, which is Buzzsprout. And the only information we get is the city or town that you're in. That's it. And then whatever you say.
Yeah, we won't spam you guys or anything. So
no, we don't text back. But
No.
we do like feedback. Good, bad,
We do.
ugly.
Yeah.
We want to hear what you
take it
guys
all.
like.
And definitely, if you haven't followed us on TikTok, definitely go on to TikTok right now. Link is down in the show notes. Because once we hit 1,000 followers, TikTok will allow us to go live. And we'll go live every time we do one of these recordings. And you can see how this shit show really works.
And
Scary.
also, we have new merch available.
Oh, yeah. Hannah just got her new hat today.
Yeah, a
looks
winter
so
hat.
cool.
Oh my God, I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
We'll take a picture of that and put it on the Facebooks, Instagrams.
The TikTok.
The TikToks, too. Yeah, hell yeah.
But we thank you guys. Like, this is something we love to do, and it's always fun to get on here. So,
Well, thank you, Hannah.
oh, thank you.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Kenzie.
Ruff, ruff.
Kenzie's passed out.
Kenzie, you want a
She's
treat?
tired. Nope.
Wow. She didn't even respond to a treat.
Now she is. She's like, well, you said it twice. It's like Beetlejuice.
Here you go.
Beetlejuice is 3 times.
I know, but he
Oh.
almost said it a third time.
By the way, there's a new Beetlejuice movie coming out. I'm so excited.
Doesn't it come out like next weekend?
Yeah, the 6th, I think it is.
So Beetlejuice comes out in 2 days. If you're listening on the day this episode comes out.
I am so ready. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Even if I have to go by myself, I'm going.
I'll go with you.
I'll
I-
have my
I like
Beetlejuice shirt. So pumped.
Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening today. Wicked Wanderings is hosted by me, Hannah.
And it's produced by Rob Fitzpatrick.
Music by Sasha N.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to leave a rating and review, and be sure to follow on all socials. You can find the links down in the show notes. If you're looking for some really cozy t-shirts or hoodies, head over to the merch store. Thank you for being a part of the Wicked Wanderings community. We appreciate every one of you. Stay curious, keep exploring,
And always remember to keep on wandering.